Yo guys, what is up, and welcome to the very first episode of Point of View 2.0, and if you've been a subscriber to this channel since the early days, you will notice that this was a little series me and Lloyd did. We did like 2 videos, and that was it. We wanted to do more, but we never got around to doing it, and I've been wanting to do it for quite a while now. There's been a lot of issues over the last few years I kind of wanted to touch base on. And I figured, hey, why not bring back this little series of videos? So basically what Point of View is, it's going to be a podcast style setup a video where I talk about my thoughts on current events going on in the world of gaming or just the world in general, or stuff I've missed over the years and haven't gave my full opinion on. And what I want to talk about today is modern gaming and why AAA companies are getting shit on so much, and what started all this, and also the indie game revolution, where indie games are seen in a much more positive light than before. I'm doing this unscripted, so if I ramble, I do apologize. Anyway. So, what made me kind of want to make this video was just like the last 3 AAA releases that are on record of being shit, which is Battlefield 2042, Call of Duty Vanguard, and GTA The Definitive Collection. And if you've not been keeping up with it, the problems with these games is just they've been released in an unfinished, buggy state, GTA The Definitive Collection being actually the worst of them all, where there's textures that aren't upscaled to the current resolution, massive amounts of bugs, the character models look like crap, among a bunch of other things. 2042, same thing, just unplayable due to performance issues, hit registration, mouse input, and they even released an update today that broke mouse input, which is kind of just sad. But anyway, with Vanguard, it's just, same old Call of Duty. It's just same thing, different year pretty much. Just, it's World War II shooter on Modern Warfare 2019 style engine. And it's just same old thing with SBMMM and a bunch of other stuff. So, what has prompted all of this? And it's not something that's new. This has been going on for quite a while, and actually, this goes back to pretty much the beginning of the modern era. The cracks began to show, and when I say the modern era, I mean PS3, 360 until now. So like 2007, 2006, 2021. Jesus, it's been 15 years. 15 years. Where the cracks begin to form, honestly, is around 2008, in my opinion. And that was, if you've been, like I said, a subscriber for any amount of time, my hatred for DLC at this point was at an all-time high. It felt like every game had DLC, or they were just coming out with games, and a single-player game would have tacked on multiplayer, like White Knight Chronicles, or they'd tack on some form of DLC, like they did with Resident Evil 5, or the biggest criminal of this era was Modern Warfare 2. And if you don't know what happened with Modern Warfare 2, basically a month after the game came out, Infinity Ward left. They sued Activision, said they were leaving, and it left the game in a very messed up state with a bunch of stuff like one-man army noob tubes that just dominated the game for its entire existence. And after it became the past game to play since Black Ops 1 was out, it became riddled with hackers. Which, it was riddled with hackers before, but not to the extent of you join a lobby and you lose all your experience and you go back to level 1. There's also the infamous 10th Prestige hack, which in my opinion really isn't a factor because you're just really unlocking everything, all the skins and all that stuff. It doesn't really affect gameplay at all. It's just a symbol, and it's just, I don't know, it's stupid that people complain about it, but it is what it is. Anyway, basically what happened in Modern Warfare 2 was Activision's like, hey, let's just put out 4 map packs, which is what they did, and people still bought them. They still played it. I bought them. I played them. They were fine. Maps were fine. I mean, it is what it is. That's kind of when this problem started. This is kind of when the cracks are starting to form. You get a game like Modern Warfare 2, which was the best-selling Call of Duty at the time, and Activision's like, hey, we can make more money off this. Now, this hasn't exactly been wasn't something new. Activision did this with Guitar Hero, and EA's been doing it with sports games since the fucking 90s. I mean, the very first Madden game I played was Madden 94. There's Madden 95, 96, 97, so on and so forth. So this isn't exactly something new. Also, Capcom was doing the same thing with Street Fighter 2. They're like, hey, let's add more fighters, but hey, let's release Street Fighter 2 Alpha, Ultimate Street Fighter 2. I mean, they're releasing these games pretty much at full price. People are buying them. It's just been a problem now for years. It's not something new. You know, DLC isn't something new. It's just, oh, we now have online capability. We can put stuff that's on the disc and sell it as DLC. That's what happened to Modern Warfare 2. And that's why people hate it so much, but Modern Warfare 2 has always been considered the best COD of all time, even though I disagree, but that's not part of this video. This is kind of when this is when the cracks began showing. And I think a lot of this started because around this time, you also had Farmville, I think Candy Crush was around this time, and they were buying points off Facebook to do stuff in Farmville, and you can kind of see where the progression starts to make its way into AAA games later on. Also around this time, you had Minecraft come out. And Minecraft got huge because of CNanners. CNanners uploaded a video back in like 2010 showing off Minecraft, and it kind of just took off from there. And we all know how Minecraft is. Even to this day, Minecraft, in my opinion, is the reason why indie games got its foot in the door to begin with. And to piggyback off that, a few years later, Binding of Isaac would come out, and we all know how that's taken off as well. So between those two games, Minecraft and Binding of Isaac, they really set the stage for the indie game revolution of what we're seeing for the last few years start to take off. Now, when the PS4 came out, this is kind of when a lot of people started losing trust in AAA companies, because you had games like Watchdogs, which at E3 looked like it had phenomenal graphics, and then when the game came out, they completely downgraded it. And it doesn't help that the game came out 6 months after GTA 5, which was regarded as probably the best Grand Theft Auto at the time, just because they added so many different things like the stock market and having 3 characters as the main character, all with different stories, which is pretty cool at the time. And then Watch Dogs comes out. Their whole marketing campaign was basically they're the GTA killer, and its whole gameplay was centered around hacking, and honestly the whole hacking thing was press square to hack someone, or you do a little mini game, and that was it. That's as far as the hacking went. We also had the Diablo 3 and SimCity issues. Now, with Diablo 3 and SimCity, which Diablo 2 and previous SimCities you could play offline, they both had offline single-player modes you could play. But when these came out on PC, we went into the always online era of video gaming. And both of these games both had the same problem within their launch weeks. And Diablo 3, honestly, from launch for the first, up until the expansion pack was remembered for Era 37, where you couldn't play the game for like 8 to 10 hours. And SimCity had a similar situation, especially when it came with the trading market and all that stuff. Both of these games, however, have been fixed with expansions, and they never really regained the momentum that they should have. And that's another issue. Another game that was like that is Destiny and No Man's Sky. Both of these games were touted as the revolutionary force in their gaming genre. Destiny was going to change how MMOs and first-person shooters were looked at, and when they came out, Destiny had an unfinished story because the head developer quit, and they put all of the story he wrote on a website that you had to go outside the game to look at. And let's not forget shooting into a cave for hours on end just to get loot. Destiny was fixed with expansion packs, and I've read that the game was actually pretty good by the end of its life cycle. However, first impressions are huge, and I never picked up Destiny again after that. And No Man's Sky, we all remember that. If you don't, No Man's Sky came out completely buggy, lacking of features, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But again, over time, it's been greatly improved, and it's actually risen with its reviews, where when it first came out, it was very negative, and it's finally got into a positive review stage on Steam, so that's good to see. Now, other games in this little era of us losing trust in AAA gaming, it's called the loot box era. And I remember for a long time going on YouTube of everyone opening loot boxes. Hey, I spent $500 on loot boxes. I'm going to open them on stream. Come see what I get. Advanced Warfare was the first Call of Duty to really abuse this, where it was pretty much pay to win. You got so many guns with unique setups that were really good out of the loot boxes. Fortnite with the skins. Hearthstone while it is free to play, Hearthstone was very pay to win because you needed to buy packs to get the good cards to actually climb the ladder. And CSGO had loot boxes for skins and stuff like that. Now, the issue here is this fad never went away. Now, when I said about Farmville earlier, that fad of microtransactions would slowly make its way into mainstream gaming, this is kind of when it started with loot boxes. Like I said, between Advanced Warfare, Fortnite, Hearthstone, Overwatch, yes, you're spending money to buy cosmetics, but at some point or another, you're also spending money on a game for features that could have been in the base game to begin with, and we're starting to see that more and more in this era as well. Also, another game, or actually another developer should say developer, or publisher, that's really lost their trust in the AAA gaming community at this time was Ubisoft, with Mass Effect Armada, Assassin's Creed Unity, both coming out very, very buggy, and honestly, these releases kind of foreshadow what's happening right now with, like, when Cyberpunk came out, or GTA Definitive Edition, or Battlefield 2042. These games released extremely buggy and unfinished, and people just were not having it. That's kind of which leads into indie games starting to get the spotlight around this time. When Cuphead, Hollow Knight, Darkest Dungeon came out, people ate them up. They absolutely loved it. They loved the little details in Cuphead, from the graphics of the 50s and 60s style graphics to the gameplay, Hollow Knight gameplay. It reminded people of their childhood with the NES, Super Nintendo, and all that stuff. But basically, thanks to Minecraft and Binding of Isaac, those games got their foot in the door. So Cuphead, Hollow Knight, and Darkest Dungeon can kick it wide open for indie games to start to take over. And that kind of leads us to now, which is where we are in the current standing of where the cracks are starting to break with AAA gaming. I don't know, out of the big three, I would say it was just Activision, EA, and Ubisoft, whatever. Those three developers have any trust with their fan base. And that's because you have games like 2042 that came out. Sorry for hitting the mic. Continual sports games, which are just roster updates with some reskins and slapped on $60. Stuff like, which isn't really Ubisoft, with Cyberpunk that came out in an extremely buggy mess. A continual addition of microtransactions to video games. The Destiny 2 issue, which if a lot of people don't remember, the first week of Destiny 2, people were farming this in-game content, and then they released an update, which the content they were farming was now unavailable. You had to pay for it. And that really pissed a lot of people off, and it really lowered Destiny 2's reviews for that game. So, between that and AAA companies just being lazy, in my opinion, and releasing remakes. For example, Warcraft 3, Diablo 2, GTA Definitive Edition, all remakes. And Warcraft 3 has a really low Metacritic review. I don't know about Diablo 2, but Diablo 2 has had a lot of issues compared to, say, PoE. GTA Definitive Edition, I went over those issues at the beginning of this video, so I don't need to go over that now. But basically, AAA gaming in the current state, which is the Corona era, I'm going to call it, for 2019, the next-gen era, the PS5 era, till now. Call it the Corona era, you can call it the next-gen era. AAA companies are basically just shitting all over their consumers, and it's sad. It's really sad because you have people going out and putting their trust into these people to put in a very good game. I put my trust into Cold War because Treyarch can do no wrong. Black Ops 4 was good. Cold War is an absolute mess. There was Modern Warfare 2019, and you can say, hey, Modern Warfare 2019 sold the most Call of Duty games since Modern Warfare 2. Just because it sold a lot doesn't mean it's a good game. That's the problem with Modern Warfare 2. It sold a lot. Yes, if they would have fixed the issues with Modern Warfare 2, it would have been probably the best Call of Duty they ever made, but they never did. And Modern Warfare 2019, in my opinion, only sold because they used the Modern Warfare name. Because when it first came out, I thought it honestly was a Call of Duty 4 remake, and it wasn't. It was basically their attempt to do Battlefield meets Call of Duty, and it failed. In my opinion, it failed. It made them a lot of money just because off of name. I mean, AAA games are going to make money regardless because they're a brand. They've been around for years. People know what they are. People are going to buy it regardless. And you have people on Reddit like, oh, if you don't want the game to be good, don't fucking buy it. But what Reddit doesn't understand is they are a small minority of people who buy the games. You have to look at the mainstream market. The mainstream market doesn't look at Reddit. The mainstream market looks at people like IGN who are paid off to say, hey, this game is good, so people will buy it, and that's where the issues are. And these people are the same people who will go out, they'll play the game maybe 50 hours at most. They'll buy some skins, they'll play it casually, like 1 to 2 hours a night, and then they'll stop playing. They'll go on to the next fad of whatever's new, and you don't keep those people. And AAA companies are catering to those people, rather than your casual and hardcore audiences who stick around a lot longer, who play the game more, who want changes to benefit them that they get forgotten about. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now with 2042. I don't know about Vanguard. I haven't played Vanguard. 2042, I can honestly say, I'll talk about this in another video, but 2042 kind of is what I'm talking about. It was a game that had so much great backing, good faith in it by its consumer base, and they've kind of just shit all over their consumer base, if you look at it at the current stage of things. Now, in my opinion, is there a good game underneath it? Definitely. If they fix the bugs with the game will be amazing. And I cannot argue that. I think the game will be absolutely amazing. But it's going to take a lot of work to get to that point. But that doesn't mean gaming as a whole is dead. We've had a ton of indie game releases. For example, Valheim came out this year. You've had Hades come out last year. You've got stuff like Deep Rock Galactic, just to name a few off the top of my head. There's a ton of indie games out there now that people in the past would not play, but because AAA is kind of just alienating their hardcore and casual audience, people are starting to find these games. And to kind of be like, hey, there are good games out there that's not made by these developers that really are about the consumer. And I think that's why indie games are starting to take off now. Now, what's my opinion on all this? I've kind of given you the backstory to it from my point of view, from what I think when all this started and why it's happening. What's my opinion? I just think it's, corporate gaming. And you live in a country where it's not capitalism. It's kind of hard to explain, but in America, corporations are starting to take over more and more each day, and they will nickel and dime you to death, and that's what's happening in AAA games. These games are no longer made for their casual or hardcore faithful audience. They're made to make a nickel or a dime as much as they can, from adding in skins to adding in different weapons that they can nickel and dime you to death on, just so they can make a buck. That's what AAA gaming has become. And I blame, honestly, the Farmville mobile game era for this starting. I mean, EA's been doing it for the last 30 fucking years. This isn't something new for EA or Capcom. I mean, if that was the case, we wouldn't see Resident Evil 4 on 4 to 5 different consoles. We wouldn't see Street Fighter 2 released as much as it has been, or Street Fighter 4, or any Street Fighter. They know what they're doing. EA's been doing this for so long, and that's why EA's been the giant it has been for so long, because they've been ahead of the curve around the other games. And EA's just now starting to get good faith from the community, but I think that's starting to lose. They're starting to lose that faith again with the 2042 release. But my opinion is AAA gaming is going to go down the drain even more in the next few years, and I think indie games are really going to start taking off. So if you're playing on, say, PC, you see something early access, you're like, hey, maybe I should buy that to support that indie developer. Do it. You know, if it looks good to you, you think it's going to be a good game, do your research. Look it up on YouTube, watch a stream on it, then decide if you want to buy it. And if, like I said, if it looks good to you, buy it. Just do it, man. But that's it. That's all I've had to talk about today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll be making more. I don't know what the next subject will be on, but I try to keep this video short as possible. We're over 20 minutes now, but yeah. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.